viewers, now it's time to take some questions from some Despicable Me fans off Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Jacqueline on Facebook wants to know, is there a third Despicable Me movie on the way, and what can you tell us about it?
Well, the next movie that we're making is actually a Minions origin story. Starts at the dawn of time when Minions were just single-cell minion creatures and takes you all the way through up until the 1960s, mostly in London and New York, where the three main characters are minions, and that will be released the summer of 2015.
Great. And Tammy on Instagram wants to know, speaking of the Minions, how many people do the voices of all the Minions?
Well, it's principally Pierre Coffin, one of our two directors, with a little bit of pinch hitting from Chris Renaud, especially on the first film. But Pierre is really the architect of that sort of wonderful, nonsensical language that we've all come to love.
Here's a question on Instagram from Amanda. How long was the entire process of making the sequel?
I think both films actually were made relatively quickly for a CG animated film. I think both films, I would say, were under 3.5 years.
Yeah, like right around 3 years,
little bit,
I'd say,
you know,
from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And how about you, Heitor? How long is your process?
It hasn't ended. Yeah.
Are you still scoring this movie too?
It already came out.
Still. I think the first took longer. Maybe like 6 months or something, because there was Pharrell more involved in it. And the second one, I did the whole score, and Pharrell wrote the songs. So it was maybe like 4 or 5 months. A little bit like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the great thing for us and for Pierre and Chris is that Heitor is on the film before he is kind of officially scoring the film. He is part of the creative team, as is Pharrell. So we get the creative involvement really throughout the entire production. It's very different from live action movie making, where the composition of the score is something that largely is done in post-production. Mm-hmm. And so it ends up becoming a much more integrated part of the creation of the film, and with the score, as well as with songs, like Pharrell's song "Happy." When a song like that emerges and becomes really an anthem for the movie, because it's so at the heart of Gru's growth in this second film. We went from the song Despicable Me to the song Happy. That song then becomes a real pillar in the process of storytelling. And so to have this kind of involvement throughout the entire course of making the film it really enriches the process.
Also, because it's very good that you point that out, because for example, the Minion movie, I'm working on it I've been working on it already for 2 months, and as Chris says, it's released only in summer of 2015. So I'm thinking of themes, I'm thinking of the palette that it is from the cell, the Minion cell that he was saying, the DNA, literally DNA of the movie, to what is the DNA of the music of this movie. So all this time also is good, because then you can look for sounds that maybe you can create yourself, instead of just drinking from the fountain of the presets and the instrumentation that is there already for everybody to grab. The good thing is that in a storytelling like this, you can create your sounds and incorporate to the orchestra and talk to the musicians of the orchestra and say, look, can you bring your your violin that's not the $1 million, $2, $3, $5 million violin. Can you bring the $500 one? Because I'm gonna ask you to go like with a guitar pick, like this, you know. So all those kind of things we already kind of we already prepared for it. So all this time is necessary for it.
All right, let's take some live questions. Please tell us your name and your question.
Hello, my name's Brittany Ford. I'm a prospective graduate student for the Writing for Screen and Television program, and my question is directed to Cinco Paul. I was wondering, how long did it take you to write your very first screenplay?
I wrote my very first screenplay when I was in the program, and I worked on it, I think about for 3 months. That first semester of your second year, that's when you write it. And it was actually, it was a script called Stuck in Monday, about a guy who was stuck in the same day and living the same day over and over and over. And I remember I turned it in at the end of the semester, and I was so excited because it's like a genius idea. And I turned it in, and I went to a movie that night and saw a trailer for Groundhog Day. And my head was spinning. I had an out-of-body experience in the theater. I don't even remember what movie I saw. It was like, I thought my career as a screenwriter was over because this was my ticket, you know? And so then I actually had to throw that. I just completely threw it out because I thought, well, this is not going to do me any good now. And so then I spent the next 3 months writing another script, and that script actually ended up getting me an agent. So generally, like, 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
But he's fast. That's
Okay.
fast. Right.
Okay, great, because, I'm on my first, and it's kind of slow, but, okay.
Yeah, don't feel any pressure because of that.
Okay, thank you.
My name's Shwal Osbin. I am a screenwriting MFA student here. And I was wondering if you could maybe just describe some of the differences in writing for animation versus writing for live action, and then also maybe any advice you'd have for people who are trying to get into that field.
One thing is that Ken and I, as writers, we never try to write for kids or write down, or we never even think about the fact that we're writing family movies. I'm writing to try to make Ken laugh and show that my writing is better than his, and he's writing to do the same thing to me. So like my audience that I think of when I'm writing is pretty much Ken. And so I think that's one of the keys to making these movies successful. And I think that when Chris was talking about the high level, I think some of these animated movies, they transcend family movies because everybody can enjoy them. And so I think that's an important part, that we don't really make that distinction. We don't think about the fact that we're making an animated movie. It's just like we're writing comedies. The one piece of advice I give to like screenwriters who want to work in animation is don't write an animated screenplay. I think you should just write a live action script, because it was a live action script that got Chris's attention, and that he brought Ken and me in to work on Horton. So I think you limit yourself if you make your spec script, or your script is going to show you off an animated screenplay. Write a live action script that's the best example of your writing.
Great, thank you guys, appreciate it.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Zachary Kennedy, and I'm a film student here at USC. And that was a beautiful story that Aitor shared about someone who's inspirational to him. And I'm curious for the rest of you, if there's a filmmaker or a film that you found particularly inspirational starting out, and if you've ever been able to work with any of the people involved with that film or with those filmmakers.
Well, my whole love affair with movies started because of the Marx Brothers. And so that was, I think when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I saw my first Marx Brothers movie, and I just love the Marx Brothers, love Groucho. Of course, never got a chance to work with any of them, but I will say there is a Marxian spirit. It's very much in Despicable Me too, I would say, where it's just like anything for a laugh. And so that's my inspiration, was Groucho Marx. I wanted to be him. I wanted to be as clever as he was, and just and that's why I wanted to make movies.
I think for me, there were many, when I was younger, a kid growing up, I wasn't watching animation. I was watching, to Singo's point, my parents weren't into animation, but they were really into film. So I was watching movies, from Woody Allen to, Kubrick, and but never a Disney movie. And I think that, but for me, I think it sounds a little bit like a cliche, but for me, when I was in undergraduate at Dartmouth and studying film, and when I saw Citizen Kane and just kept watching it over and over and over again, just this window opened up, to me where I thought I was interested in film, but I became so much more interested, just the infinite possibilities of expression and the layers and layers of storytelling, through visuals, through words, through acting. So, that was what really just got me soaring, towards wanting to be in this industry. And I did see Orson Welles once. I saw him in a restaurant, and he was a lot larger at that moment than he had been in Citizen Kane. I got chills up and down my spine, but that was about as close as I had gotten to him.
I have one thing. It's interesting because you can go back, and you find it in the history of film, inspiration, right? Like from the beginning of it. But I must say, not just my case, but I think you guys are starting. There are so many people now that total inspiration. For me, John Powell, Hans Zimmer, Greg Harrison Williams, and all those guys that I had worked with them as a soloist, as a guitar player, and then I wrote a cue here and there in their movies, and they always told me, man, your melodies, you should be writing the movies yourself. I said, no, I don't have anything to do with film. So what I want to say is, listen to the people that you are collaborating with, because maybe they could be making clear to you something that it's so right in front of you and you cannot see. So for me, the inspiration was just people that are around us, part of my daily life. And I always felt, you guys are crazy. Let me just play the guitar in your cue. And then with time, I realized, oh my God, I was born to be a musician for the movies, and I needed film composers to tell me that, so the inspiration was just around me,
Well, it's been fascinating to hear all of your stories about this film, about this franchise, about your lives and your careers. So thank you so much, and to thank you for taking the time. We have made each of you custom Fandango Despicable Me 2 gift cards. So please enjoy with your family and friends some nights at the movies. And I also want to thank everybody here in the room and everyone from USC for making this event so much fun. And thank you so much for the questions in person and online. It's been a lot of fun. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.